Imagine you just landed on Europa, the ice moon of Jupiter, and you begin drilling through the thick 15-kilometer ice. What do you see once you reach the surface? Maybe you see microorganisms or aquatic creatures some sort swarming around, or maybe you see nothing at all. Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you about astrology, a very fascinating subject that studies life from another point of view, not the normal biology or zoology point of view. And not many people know this, and not many people know exactly what astrology studies. So I'm going to tell you about it. For me, astrology is very important because I plan to study astrology for a career in the future. I love to research and find new interesting things about astrology because it's a very new subject and there's new stuff coming out every single day. So I'm going to tell you about that. The main points that astrology covers is the study of how life came to be, the study of how life strives in very extreme environments, and the study of life in space. How did life came to be? Well, astrology takes a look at this. How did life come on Earth? Well, it wasn't very exciting. It was just a bunch of components, elements together, and then lightning struck it, and then it created a chemical reaction that created organic compounds. These organic compounds weren't life yet, but it was getting close to it. Another chemical reaction occurred, and we begin to see multi-celled organisms, actually single-celled organisms to be exact, because they weren't clumping up yet. Then they begin clumping up. Then they begin creating these colonies of cells. And eventually, they do create multi-celled organisms. And these organisms begin to create us. That's where evolution comes from. When these cells split, they create new DNA, new coding that creates changes in them. After determining how life came to be, now we have to determine how life thrives in extreme environments. The study of life in extreme environments, I've had a few examples. Study of life in cold, for example. We can observe this directly on Earth down in Antarctica or in the North Pole. Antarctica is harder and it is more extreme. In Antarctica, we can see that the penguins, for example, they keep themselves warm by having specialized fur that traps heat better than most fur in any other animal. The seal, for example, has also pretty much the same fur that traps heat and better than any other furred animal as well. Bears don't have the same thing unless you're talking about the polar bear, but that's different. Uh, Next is the extreme heat biome. Extreme heat is harder to observe because it's more sporadic, but we can observe it, for example, in the Hawaiian volcanoes. There's lava pools that create very extreme temperatures that we can observe. There's not many things that can survive in the extreme heat, mostly single-celled organisms, microorganisms, and that. And but these microorganisms are very, very, very capable of this. They can slow the metabolism to slow the rate of which they consume energy. They can conserve the energy so that they can conserve their body temperature. It's very hard to kill these creatures. The water bear is the most famous example because they can survive in a plethora of different environments. The next extreme environment I want to talk about is the lack of resources. How would life survive in the lack of resources up in space, for example? But that's another story. We can show this by taking a vacuum chamber and sucking out all the oxygen in the air, and we can put some microorganisms in there. For water bear, for example, did this test completely scot-free and it just survived. How did it do this? Well, again, slowing its metabolism down so it doesn't take as much energy, and then it just sort of does it. How does it do this? Because it's an extreme environment, and that these creatures were evolving to do this from the start. After determining how life thrives in extreme environments, now you can look at how life survives in space. How does life thrive in space? Well, we can observe this through the ISS and the Mars rover. Curiosity rover is very famous because it discovered the existence of water up on Mars. And on Mars, we haven't discovered direct forms of life or that there was life on there completely, but we discovered lakes and rivers and oceans, that there was water on there at one point. But what happened? Well, we don't know. And the next thing I want to talk about is the ISS. The ISS is we can see what plants and other creatures how to survive in zero-G. Plants, the roots go all over the place. But we also observed humans, the effects it has on humans. For example, when Scott Kelly came back after his year in space, blood drained from top of his head down to his feet when he got out of bed because his body wasn't used to having to work so hard to pump blood. After this, we can see how life survives on our planets, but not directly, more about how different resources on planets. We can use the space telescope Hubble to observe resources on planets. How we do this is we use the light spectrum. How light how light refracts through elements. Oxygen, for example, has a very specific light spectrum that we can observe. It's more of a neon hue, sort of. And that's how we discover resources on other planets. And maybe life did evolve on it, but we don't know because we can't directly see. With all these things together, we get astrobiology. Before I wrap up, I just want to summarize what I've talked about. I studied how life started. I studied how life thrives in extreme environments. I studied how life in space. And to put all these together, we get astrobiology. I hope you came to this speech truly knowing what astrobiology is about, and I hope you have a very good day.